Testing mic.
Hello. Hello.
Please, can you take a picture of this? Please.
Hello.
All right. Hi, Kamitola. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Game 7 of the main event of WESPAC 2025. Here on your screen, we have Jakkrit from Thailand going against Tachie Charles from Ghana. In his first move, Jakkrit had WEMBCNX and rightfully opted to play WEMB, scoring 22 points. We saw a funny from Taji Charles playing FECULATE down to the E in Wemb. Bullet was rightfully challenged off, and now it's back to Jakkrit. Okay, what are you reason for in this game? Do you have any info about these players or any gut feeling about who is going to win this particular matchup? All right, we see Jakkrit is PRINCTX, and we seeing him play PREX, scoring 13 points. Because touches zero. Now, Tati has the same tiles as he began with the FECULAT, and we'll see how it navigates this. So, back to playing, perhaps you didn't hear the question I asked. I was saying, Do you have any to win the matchup, or or you have like any background info on this players you'd like to share with us?
Um, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have favorites or if I'm allowed to pick a favorite, but I've watched Tachie's games. I've watched a number of his games, and I can say that he's an absolutely brilliant player. So yes, I think I'm rooting for him.
All right. We've in fact seen Tachi Charles play a lot of tournaments in Nigeria, and if I recall, last year he won the Lekki Scrabble tournament, and I know for sure he's a really strong player representing Ghana. I'm curious to see plays from Jakkrit from Thailand. I have to say I'm a bit unfamiliar, but let's see what both players have to offer in this matchup. We're currently having some technical issues, but I'm sure our team is on it, and as soon as possible, would have a very clear feed for you guys. All right, while we are waiting for the rest of the feed, we can see in the previous turn, Jackrid had FINCPMT. He had plays like PFFT available where he would just plunk down the F and the T, scoring 12 points, but he chose to swap the tiles and leave IN in the last move. Now, Tachi Charles has found the first valid bingo of the game. LACTEAN, I believe, is coming down lactin, forming FA and UN. This play is a bit scary. It exposes the triple triple and the A next to the triple letter score. It's worrisome, and we can see, in fact, Jackrid has the Z. I think one stellar move that Tachi missed in that turn was playing ACYLATE hooking Prexy. That would have scored 75 points, and it was a whole lot safer. Coin, do you think he perhaps did not see the Prexy hook, or just wanted to like really play it safe in that turn? All right, we apologize once more for the glitches we are experiencing. All right, back to Jackrit. FELIZEEN is what it has, and with the way the board is, I'm sure you would be able to find some options for him. Fine with the Z, you would hope to score in the 60s, the 70s, but right now he has to make do with words like ZILL from the L in lactin, scoring 39 points, leaving EEFN, or you could go for ZEP, hooking the pin Prex for 34 points, leaving FLINE. And the thing is, with that leave and the A open, I think if that spot is untouched, he could come back and do some damage there. But playing ZILL keeps things really tight, and it keeps things safe. So I think would see ZILL come down on this turn. He could even delay playing the Z right now and opt for FAINE through the A in lactane, but that just leaves open a bunch of hooks for the feign, and the board is wide open. There's FAINER, there's FAINED, and FAINES. So even though that scores 32 points and it retains LEZ, I think it might be a bit too risky at the start of the game. Okay, interesting. We see Jakkrit simply drop the Z, scoring 31, leaving FELINE. And with the move of BYRL from Tachie Charles, I'm sure he was aware of the Prexy hook, perhaps just didn't see that he had accolades in the previous turn. So we see BYRL scoring 28 points, leaving PRS on his rack. Pretty impressive considering he didn't have a vowel on that turn. And now it's back to Jakkrit from Thailand with FELINE. All right, we can see he wants to play through the C in Latin for fleecy. This is in fact a word I'm unfamiliar with. I think that was an impressive spot by Jackrit. Fleecy plays fleecier and fleeces. So we'll see if we'll be seeing a hook later on, hooking fleecier or fleeces in this game. Could also have played flexi through the X in Prexy. But I mean, Fleecy for 45 points is a very, very solid choice here, leaving the N on his rack. Back to Tachi Charles, we have CORPSYS. He sees another Y on his rack, two S's, and a vowel. I think he should be able to score considerably well on this turn. Remember, I said there's fleece here, and he could play prosy right now, hooking that word, scoring 49 solid points. Or where he's same arranging his styles just now, Pulling in that spot too would score really well, but he has made up his mind to go for prosy, scoring exceedingly well on this turn. Very impressive spot from Tachi Charles, the Ghanaian.
Um, Prosy is actually a word I'm not familiar with. This is my first time seeing it. So, yes, I've learned that.
Yes, indeed, it is. It looks very strange to me too, and we learn every day. And back to Jack rates, he has INTENND triple N's. That must hurt. He only left one N on his rack in the last move, and he found two more N's to that. Do you see any options for Jack rates right now on the board?
Um, Maybe playing funny, FANNY, to get rid of two of the ends, keeping DINT. Scores 11, which is quite low, but that's what I can think of right now.
Yes, Fanny would have left the leave of TINED, which is pretty strong, but we see him going for as much as gets playing METT, scoring 26 points. Actually, Charles wastes no time replying with OTIC on this turn. We can see he had um, two O's, two I's on that turn, and there wasn't much you could do. Otik scoring 23 seemed really solid, leaving OIS. And back to Jackris, we see GINNDAU. Even though he has the ING combination, an ING bingo would be really hard to get by in this game. Make sure you remember that there is lactane on the board. The blank is N, I believe, UN. So, and UN only hooks the S and the I. So, a bingo there would need to have I as the second letter or the first letter there. And you can see there's an I on Jackrit's rack, so I'm sure he's looking in that spot. But right now, the bingo on this board will be a bit difficult without certain specific tiles to have. So what do you think Jakkrit can do on this turn with the tiles they have? Would you, be fixated on leaving ing and playing off tiles somewhere else, or you're just going to go for as much points as you can?
Keeping the ing on this type of rack, on this type of board rather, is really not. It doesn't seem feasible to me, because like you said, getting or playing the word that ends with ing would be pretty tough, especially because the C is already placed here and that's blocking it. The F, whatever you're playing has to end in A or E. So yes, maybe mirroring through the M and R, M from Wem and R from BYLR. Yeah, scores 22 and keeps ADN.
Yeah, I especially like mirroring because Jackpot is trailing, so mirroring would expose more threats on the board, opening the N and the G as floaters. But we see him going for Odin instead, and I understand the thought process to this move, playing out as much tiles as you can and leaving the N and opening up a lane for a straight seven. So I understand why you would go for such move instead of something like mirroring down the M and the R on in the middle of the board. Back to Tachi, we have Jigohas. Currently, the scores are Tachi's 188 to Jackrit's 155. He has all the gunpowder, I must say, to really score some points here with the J and the S. I'm seeing options like Goji at top, F in Felicia scoring 33 points, leaving a very good leave of A and S. But you can keep things a bit more interesting playing through the D in Odin with the word Ajigo, leaving HS. But with him leading and having other options on the board, I doubt he'll be opening up a triple triple so easily for his opponent. So maybe Gajo or Goji at top, Felicia would be the move.
Yes, I
All
really
right, we
don't
see
think
him
he's going to be
arranging.
that careless.
Yes, indeed. That would be an unnecessary play, just exposing the O without like scoring so high a point. So Jigo might eventually okay. We see Haji come down instead, leaving GOS on his rack. I was worried there for a second if he was going to expose that O for the triple triple. I think this is a pretty standard play leaving the GOS. I know a couple of players have a personal vendetta against the G and would want to play at all costs. But I'm guessing Charles has no issues with that and is ready for his next turn. Back to Jakkrit, we have UNROVEI, and we see him setting up on Rove, scoring 39 solid points. However, there is a sneaky 41 point play on this board. Do you spot the move, Coin Solar?
41 points. Let's see.
Yes, it plays next to the last move Tachi Charles just played, Virion through the I in Odin. It overlaps the H, the A, the J, and the I from the
Marion.
last move, scoring 41. Yes, indeed. But we see on roof coming down for 39. Still pretty solid if you ask me. 39 points leaving the I, going into the bag. There's still one blank left. A couple of biggies like the Q and two S's on sin. Back to Tachi Charles, we have Nosagar. I'm sure he has a gut feeling here that there is definitely a bingo. And for someone of Tachi Charles' strength, I wouldn't be surprised if he plunks down this bingo immediately.
True that. I really think he's going to find the bingo. I think he's going to spot it.
Yes, the only question is
I've never
where is it going
gotten
to place
used to.
this?
I think he has quite a number of options. You know, Under EF, the F from Felicia, or under Ajis, that scores 79, or under the LA, looking the LA, forming LAS. Yes, I think he has about three spots where he could play. One thing I've really not gotten used to is the fact that there are certain players that would spot their bingos even without touching their rack. Like, it still
True,
surprises me.
true.
It's very amusing.
Yeah, there's some of us who would be shuffling the tiles, looking at maybe ending with NGS or ANG and all that. But there are certain players who just leave the tiles and, rack their heads looking for the bingo. But unfortunately, we see Tachi Charles missing and Goras that would have played to Hajis or played to LAS or EFS on the board. I was expecting, some Tachi Charles to actually find this bingo ball. I mean, we are only human in the end, and it did find a really impressive play regardless of Ajitan with very interesting overlaps there. But I have a feeling that Tachi Charles is eventually going to see the bingo it has. And one interesting thing about the phony that was played just now is agitans is in fact valid. Agitans is a straight S word, but unfortunately there is no Agitan. All right, back to Jakkrit. I see Root like coming down for him. A very impressive find. A lot of players, read prefixes and suffixes such as words ending with like, and I'm sure Jack Reed has, done such too, and that can has easily found his bingo of roots like scoring 84 points. And exactly as I predicted, now Tachi Charles finds his bingo of Angoras. I'm sure he must be beating himself up, thinking, "Oh, why didn't I just play it in the last move?" What do you think, Coin?
Yes, I really do think so. You know, after playing that phony, maybe he decided to just take a second look at the rack and boom, he finds it.
Yes, yes, it can be really painful when you play the phony and then your opponent doesn't just score any point, he's scoring 84 points, and now you find the bingo you could have played in the previous turn. But still, the scores are Jackreed's 278 to Tachi's 294. So there's still a lot of games to be played, and I'm sure we'll still see some interesting turns in this game. We see Jackrit with QUAVEHD. I'm sure he's super excited to see that the Q came with the very lovely U that goes alongside that. Should I say forbidden letter to pick or so?
Yes, it's really very devastating because imagine if the U was another consonant, then it would have a tough time deciding on what to
Yeah,
play.
true, true. Because of that U draw, now he has plays such as quashed through the S in Angoras for 56 points. Without that U, I promise you would be, a big void in the stone, and the Q would have to play somewhere else for maybe very little points, like the I in route like for 21. But with that U draw, you can play quashed, opening up the bottom of the board, but the thing is, 56 scores so well and plays out so many tiles that you're probably not too worried about the reply from that. You could keep it shorter if you want. You could just play Quash for 50. That still scores really well. And he could even keep his QU for one more turn, playing Harvard through the R in Angora, scoring 30 points. But I think we're going to see Quash come down as soon as Jakkrit is done, analyzing and figuring out what to play in this turn.
I really think so too, because there's really no reason why you should pass up 50, 56 points and score 30 just because she wants to hold on to the queue. And I really don't think there's any reason why you should do that. I think it
Yes,
might decide not to play quashed, and it might opt for quash instead.
yes, but the thing is, regardless if he plays quashed or quash, it is still going to give back the front hook squash or squashed. And from his POV, there are still two S's left and one blank on sin. So I think it's understandable why he's pausing and a bit worried about making that move. But 56 points, especially when you're trailing, you want to create as much worries for Charles if he doesn't have the S or the blank. So we see Quashed come down. He wants to give himself as much chance as possible to pick the blank left on the bag or any of the two S's, playing six tiles, leaving the V. And the beautiful thing about this move is if Charles has the S to hook, squashed, maybe to play a four-letter word play there, then at least Jackrit can bank on the newly opened spot beneath the D in quashed to play a high scoring point of his own. All right, we see you, Powell, in the chat. Thank you once more for joining us in this game. Back to Tachi Charles. He has IDOTOES. We saw him miss Andora's the two previous turn, but eventually finding it eventually, and now he has OESTOID. I would have, said, oh, this is super easy for Tachi Charles to find. I'm a bit worried after the Angrass miss earlier if it would be seeing this word, most especially because the squashed lane is open and they move like DOSE there looks, solid and it scores a lot of points. But I think we should be seeing OS toy come down. As I said earlier, there are a lot of prefixes and suffixes that Scrabble players study to help them remember certain words. Root like was one of them. There are a lot of words ending with like, and I'm sure these players too have studied words ending with OID. I'm sure Charles, taking his time, would be able to spot that he has one of those words OSTEOID playing right now on this turn for 86 points. What do you think, Ointola?
Yes, I think he's going to spot it. I really think this game is going to be neck and neck till we get to the end game, because once he plays 86 points, I saw Jackie's arranged visa the other time. Yes, it's arranged on his rack, following squashed as well. So yes, I really think he's going to find it. But if he doesn't, oof, it's going to be a sad miss to see.
Yes, I mean, I have a lot of faith in Tashi Charles, and as we see, he in fact spots the bingo. He was just tracking the tiles, making sure there were no things to worry about, especially the S to hook squashed. But I mean, he has to go for his bingo here, scoring 86 points, I believe.
Yes, wonderful stuff. Looks like there's a rare um strange word, because I've never come across this before. The minus 110 points. Hooking squashed
Wow,
on Jackrit.
wow. Wow, wow, that is incredible. If Jakkrit spot this move, the manners to squashed would score exceedingly well. And would we be seeing Jakkrit cashing on that spot? You're saying him taking his time. I feel like Vimanas is one of those moves that the moment you see it, there is no way you're like overthinking the move or like looking at somewhere else in the board saying if you like have a better player. I know that yes, these are master players and I'm sure they are not psyched by plays like this, but Vimanas just scores so well and it's such an incredible play that I think the moment Jackrit sees this, is going to play it. But the longer he spends, the more I doubt if he's going to play this. But we see he has arranged um, separated tiles and not bringing them together to form like a separate word rack. So a bit worried that he would miss this, but we see him going for Visa, I believe. And yes, this scores really well, but V Manners for 110 would have been a game changer. And I'm sure the osteoid hook to osteoids is a bit tempting, but right now the S hooking squashed has to be the most juiciest spot on the board. The V Manners miss might be painful later on, but let's see if Jackrit would, really regret not seeing that move, or would still be able to sneak out a win from Tachi Charles. We can see both players are tracking, analyzing the board, and we are getting into the end game where they have to be really, really careful.
Honestly, I feel like he might not, as soon as he, went into the bag and got the S, I feel like getting the S and then finding a four letter to play to hook squashed. I think as soon as he did that, I think he didn't um think to look for a bingo.
Yes, yes, with V, M, and two A's. Thinking of a bingo on that turn would have to be, you knowing the word, or you've seen it before and you're like very sure of it. But it's understandable. Visa there scored, quite well, and it's back to Tachi Charles to decide on this end game in what direction it's going to go. He has EDEEING, while Jackrit has MAWINTR. There are no tiles left in the bag. The scores are Jackrit 391 to Tachi's 379. I think this is going to be a very tricky end game for Tachi.
I think so too. I think so too. The game is too close. Like I said, this would be one of the games where until the game is over, you really cannot tell who is going to win.
Yes, indeed. If the scores are indeed correct, 391 for Jackrit to Tachi's 379, then from my analysis here, Tachi can force a draw. All he needs to do is play GEED to the left hand side of root like hooking GOETEL and DI scoring with perfect play from both players. Charles is going to force a draw with that move. But we see him going for Drain, which, if you ask me, is a pretty human move. You just want to play out as many tiles as you can, and you're sure the E would finish on the board. But the downside is there is MAWR for 39 points or MAWN for 39 points available for Jackrit on this turn next to the K and the E in root like, forming MI, aka WEN, and that would score 39 points, which would be more than enough to win him the game, which is why GED in that spot for Tachi Charles was very, very crucial in that turn. Let's see if Jackett can spot that sequence. One to note about this end game is if Charles had played GEED, it would have fallen on Jackrit to spot MOWRA through the O in unroll for 35 points to draw the game. Now we are seeing him play MAW, but he needs to play MAWNR to win. Sorry, MAWN or MAWR to win this game, and that's exactly what we see him do, dropping the N. Even though Charles is going to finish next turn, playing out this extra tile would secure Jakkrit the win. All right, I think Jackrit is, looking through the move, making sure MAWN is the best he could do, and he goes ahead and, commits the move. Charles, with the E left on his rack, the best he could do is play Web and X, scoring 19 points. But when all is said and done, Jackrit wins this game 430 to Tachie's 48. All right, the game has come to a close, and both players are probably, analyzing the game and seeing whatever they could have missed. So, what do you think was the turning point for this game? All right, I think we might be having technical issues again, but if you can hear me, I was asking, what do you think was the turning point in this game for both players?
All right, so I think that if the first phony, was not played earlier on in the game, um, Charles might have had, a shot at winning, because losing a turn is very, very paramount in the game of Scrabble. Yes, the game was very, very, very close. Although it could have been sealed if the bingo was not missed. That's for Jakkrit.
Yes, you're right. The manners when you played Peter would have secured the win 100% and would have left no chance for Tachi to maybe force a draw later on. But I think we saw a very, very interesting game right from the start. Tachi tried the word feculate, thinking, oh, maybe this was valid, but we saw that successfully challenged off. And later on, Lactin was played as late, I believe, was um, available on that, but Latin was played instead, and we saw really impressive plays after that. Jackrit came with Roots like, he came with Quashed, and later on, the Visa pushed him back into the game, even though Oistioid was played by Charles just to move before scoring 86. Also, it's worth mentioning the Angora's miss at first, where Charles played Agitan without the S, but the word there is Agitans. It's not valid without the S, which is, it's a mistake anyone can make if you are sure of Agitans. So I think this was a very interesting matchup, and it was really fun to see these players talk it out.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It was a really fun game to watch, and I learned